Reddy and Satyanarayana Reddy, they were colleagues in HMT, Hindustan Mission Tools. So they were Mr. Ravindra Reddy was heading the planning and design section, and Satyanarayana Reddy was heading the production in HMT. So the birth of MTR took place when Department of Atomic Energy actually approached HMT to manufacture the critical coolant channel of a nuclear reactor. So there was no support from the Canada or international community at that time because of the various restrictions imposed on India. Yeah. So at that time, looking at the criticality, HMT refused to take up the job. And so both the founders decided that with the blessings of DAE, they set up a small workshop, a 4-machine workshop in Hyderabad way back in 1970. And they subsequently successfully executed that project for DAE. It was highly critical. That's how MTR was born in the year 1970 for indigenization program.
But why did HMT refuse to handle it?
It was highly critical because for the first time, the kind of tolerances involved, 5 to 10 microns, the kind of criticality involved, HMT somehow said that they will not be able to take it up because there's a lot of criticality involved in their jobs. So they did refuse it, and that's how, with the blessings of DAE, both the founders left HMT and they started their own workshop, and they did execute that later. No, actually, defense, we involve in very niche areas. We don't get into the regular stuff. So our main focus has always been on space and nuclear. But defense also, yes, we have involved in a major complex assemblies for the missile program. But that is something which we restrict ourselves to very niche areas in defense.
Can you name some of the clients? Because the DRHP just mentioned space, defense, and ISRO. In defense, any DRDL or any particular you can talk about?
Yeah, DRDO. We work with DRDO, the various labs under DRDO like RCI, ASL, LRD, all these are under DRDO. The main organization is DRDO, and under this you have the number of organizations what we have like BDL, all these organizations which we work with.
And nuclear is NPCL? And
NPCL is basically one organization, but we deal with the sites also. Like for example, you have 22 reactors operational, which are 220 megawatts. Yeah. So each of the sites we do, like we are involved in 3 areas in NPCL. One is the new reactors, and second is the refurbishment of reactors, and third is the maintenance of reactors. We are involved in all the 3 areas. As PHWR reactors. After that, they imposed the sanctions. We had no choice but to work on our own indigenous technology, so which we did successfully. And that's where we are today. So that's the best part.
Why were these sanctions even before Pokhran?
They were more or less because once you start building these nuclear reactors or whatever, see, even today we are not part of the nuclear supplier group. They're trying to create issues for the country even today, because even one country opposes it in the NSG, obviously you will not be allowed. See, like for example, China opposing it will not be allowed. So it is not on vote basis, it's a 100% vote. So we still are not yet there. So we depend on our own nuclear cycle in terms of these reactors, and that's how it is. And we have come way ahead of what we were 50 years back now. So these are the board of directors, what we have. So what we have done here is, see, we treat MTR like, it's like an institution right now. So we believe in corporate governance more than anything else. So what we have done is we have 6 independent directors. So the majority are independent directors, keeping corporate governance as the highest priority, which we strongly believe in. We did that, we started working on it. In engineering, nothing happens overnight. So we build a lot of products over the last 3-4 years. So we have seen from a growth, what you have seen there in revenues happening year-on-year basis. The bumpiness, what you're looking at there is not going to be there in the future, because the reason being, as we know that they've commissioned the Kakrabad plant, the first of the 700 megawatts from 220 megawatts, right? So now the government or the NPCL has announced like 14 fleet reactors, out of which 2 the tenders are in active stage, and 4 they said they will do it in first quarter of next year.
Nuclear power generation, somewhere the CRISIL chat shows they're going down, the share of nuclear power generation power vis-a-vis the rest of the segments. So is it a matter of concern for you?
It is not, sir, because the basic thing is, it is not only for the power generation, but there might be a lot of strategic reasons for the government of India to have these nuclear reactors across the board. So it is not purely, so there are a lot of other strategic reasons. Like for example, we are working on a fast breeder reactor in Kalpakam, 500 megawatts. We actually supplied entire nuclear island for the Kalpakam project, which they said it will be commissioned by December 2021. Okay. Rocket engine, that's Vikas engine. That's the one which we rolled out way back in 1989. And we continue to supply this on consistent basis to ISRO for all their launches. And till date, we never had any kind of issues or in terms of quality of performance. So this is a product. Basically, we are talking about the space and defense industry opportunity here. But what I primarily look at is the number of launches that the government is planning, and the kind of what we are contributing to these projects over the years. And also over the last 4-5 years, we have done a lot of work in terms of rolling out additional products in this area. Like I said, the roller screws. We're also working on the control modules, which we're going to launch next year. So we thought of increasing our wallet share within this space, which we already got qualified for that and supplied. So let's move on to defense. As I said, we get involved in the niche area, but what we are doing right now is, because of the latest government policies of Atmanirbhar, the various aspects which have changed a lot. Obviously, we know that we have 50% of any foreign deal has to be indigenized, manufactured indigenously.
Yeah.
And as per DPP, that's what it is. And also, 108 systems and subsystems were supposed to be indigenized. And 101 banned items are also there, which was announced by Government of India. So what we are doing in realistic terms is, it's very easy to ban or very easy to do various things. To indigenize will take time. Let us be very practical about it. So what we have done is we have selected certain specific areas like landing gears, fuselage, certain areas like actuators, electromechanical actuators. So these are the areas where we have picked, and where our R&D is presently working on it on fast track basis. And we expect in a very niche areas where we think that there is going to be a lot of traction coming out of here. So we're working on fast track basis. So we expected to indigenize a lot of these products over the next 2-3 years in a big way. In fact, we have pictures of Abdul Kalam visiting our factory also, which we can share it with.
Yeah, please send. Please send.
Yes, sir. There are statements given by him, sir, that if nothing is getting done and you are facing a problem. This is what he used to tell the DRDO guys. So if nothing is getting done and you are facing a problem, please go to that Reddy company in Hyderabad, in Balanagar, and they'll get it done.
Do you have that quote somewhere?
We in exports over here. So we started here in 2000. They went all over India, but finally ISRO told them, as you used the word earlier, go to MTR. So Bloom Energy was directed by ISRO to MTR way back in 2012.
Okay.
Because it involves a lot of intricate brazing and welding technology, and it is not that easy. So we looked at it, it was very challenging for us. And it took us 3.5 years to actually establish it. It didn't happen overnight. Oh. So we are the only people in the country who work on this core capability. So then successfully we were able to do it. It's called a solid oxide fuel cell technology units. And we started with 18 units in 2017-18, and today we are doing 180 units per month. So it's growing very aggressively. This particular area is purely for exports. And what we are also looking at here is we are also develop prototypes for the hydrogen units and as well as electrolyzers. Okay. So in the basic SOFC units, you convert methane to power, natural gas to power. In hydrogen, you actually convert hydrogen to power. That's cleaner way of producing power. That's what the world is looking for in a big way.
So you're extracting hydrogen from water. That means your byproduct is oxygen.
Yes, sir. That's why it's called green hydrogen, right? So that's where that's called electrolyzer. We have manufactured that unit already. So we're looking at a lot of growth coming from that area.
So is
clean energy is going to really grow in a big way, in a very large way.
A lot of these polluting companies, they emit all kind of gases and
exactly
pollutants.
Yeah.
So is it right to say that we emit oxygen?
Yeah, no, sir. Yeah, no, not entirely. The electrolyzers, yes. When you produce from water, you emit oxygen. 100% you're right.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why we call it as green hydrogen.
Yeah.
So we are involved in this clean energy sector, both in stationary And we're also looking at the transportation sector.
So basically, I think, company has got an order book which has been growing 31% CAGR. Our revenue from operations has been, very steadily increasing. We think that, this will grow at a, much faster pace in the days to come. We have a, gross profit margin which has remained fairly stable.